So we're in Rockford, Illinois, because this city in Illinois actually has a violent crime rate twice that of Chicago. The violent crime in Chicago is around 140% worse than the national average. And the violent crime in Rockford, Illinois, is 297% worse than the national average. So over twice as high. And for some perspective, like a city like Minneapolis, their violent crime rate is about, I think, 237 or in around that area in Minneapolis. And it all is kind of based on just the population of the city and how big the city is. So Chicago, if you just look at their numbers, because of how large it is and how many people there are there, their numbers are like regular city bad. That's just I define anything between like 100 and 150% worse than the national average as regular city bad. So Chicago's in that range. Minneapolis, a city like that, is above that range, and Rockford is actually getting into the kind of iffy areas. It's actually would be considered a bad area. I didn't look up what the worst cities in Illinois were, but this one would probably rank up there as one of the top if you're looking at on a per capita basis and not just on counting incidents of things, where Chicago would obviously be the highest. Because the population of Chicago is like, I think 2.7 million, something like that. I might be wrong on that. But the population here is 147,000, 148,000. So there's under 150,000 people in Rockford, but they have a lot of violent crime for the size. And yearly their murder rate is in the teens. I think last year the murder rate was 13, which is actually pretty high. For a city, it's a pretty good size murder rate. You can see that building looks like that one's. A couple of these buildings, I haven't really been paying attention, have already been, they're all boarded up, they're closed up. There's nothing even in them. And we're gonna do just kind of a drive from top to bottom through this city, through downtown, and then back out. I'm not gonna venture through too far off the main road here, just because I didn't research it too much to know which areas are the no-go zone areas. And from the looks of what I'm seeing right now, this area is probably not good. The way I picked the route was I looked at some of those heat maps that they have of cities where the violent crime is, and I looked at that, and then I looked at the last like 15 homicides they had here, and I plotted them out, and they're all, you know, a few blocks either direction of this 2, which is the road we're on, County 2, I think it's called County 2. They're just a couple blocks either direction of this road. So this is the main one, and then downtown had quite a bit, and then when we get on the other side of downtown, that was where the rest of the majority of the homicides were. They were all right off this path. And I looked on some Street View, and there are areas of this city where the houses are completely boarded up for blocks. Like, it looks like when you see stuff about Detroit, that's kind of what this looks like. Some of these blocks, when I did a Google Street View of the city, a lot of it looked like that. And I was gonna drive through those areas, and I thought, I don't want to, yeah, a lot of this is boarded up on the side here, or not open. On the right-hand side there, a whole bunch of that was closed up. But I don't want to go through an area and then get stuck somewhere. I'm in a rental car for work right now, and it's a Mitsubishi Mirage, and I don't have any confidence in its ability to get me out of someplace safely if I needed to make a fast getaway. So we're just gonna kind of stick to this main road, and then, like I said, we're gonna go through downtown, and then we'll kind of get off the beaten path a little bit, trying to get back over towards the freeway. But so yeah, so the murder rate here sticks in the teens, and they consistently since like 2007, they've had 15 to 25 homicides a year. So the city stays in the same range. It hasn't gotten significantly worse or significantly better. It's been about that same range, like I said, since 2007, so over 15 years. It's had about the same amount of homicides. And I don't know how much of this you can see of these houses, but a lot of these houses are kind of, I mean, some of the all brick ones look okay, but a lot of these houses are pretty run down. So, and I looked up some like similar cities to this just to get a comparison on like how bad the crime is here. And if you look at a city like Kansas City, Kansas, which has a pretty much the same size population, the violent crime here is 3 times as bad. And Kansas City, Kansas is right next to Kansas City, Missouri. So that city's getting overflow from Kansas City, Missouri as well. And here, though, we're not that far from Chicago, probably a little over an hour from Chicago. So that's likely part of the reason why this city's as bad as it is. But I looked it up, and it's like the demographics, it's 65% white, 22% black, and 4% Asian. That's the population here. And the 7% are non-citizens. So it's a good majority, I think 65% or something like that, were native born. I might be remembering that wrong, but it was right around 65% were native born. The people that live here, they were born here, they still live here. So it must not be too bad if people are sticking around, you know, sticking around the town. And I checked out the gun memorial. I couldn't find a good site to get how many homicides they've had this year yet here. I couldn't find a good site, but I checked out the gun memorial, and there were 7 homicides just on the gun memorial. So you have to figure that they probably have had at least 8 or 9. And we're like 4.5 months into the year, so they'll probably be maybe around 20 by the end of the year, in around that area. So now I think now we're pulling into the downtown. Now we're pulling through into the downtown. And yeah, a lot of this stuff is not even open. It's not really that big of a downtown. Harris Bank Center. It's not that big of a downtown. I'm going to turn here. Okay, something went wrong with the GoPro, so it cut out a little bit there, so we missed a few blocks, but that was just part of the downtown. We're gonna just keep going till I get back to the freeway. But so far you can see this city it's not overly dirty or anything like that. You don't see a ton of, at least in the parts that I've been through right now, it doesn't look overly like there's not garbage everywhere or anything like that, at least in this downtown. I mean, the houses all back there were all kind of messed up. haven't really seen any graffiti. So in that regard, at least where we've been, it hasn't been too bad in that regard. But this isn't, I mean, you think of these smaller big cities, and you'd think that they'd be relatively on the safe side, some of them, but this definitely is not one that would fall into that category. Yeah, look at all this is all, none of this is open. None of these are open. They all have real estate sign. Well, that place is, what is that, a bar? Wow, that whole block that we just went on, nothing was open. Not a single building. I'm having flashbacks to that drive I did through that Lake Street in Minneapolis. Yeah, all of this is boarded up. Well, there's a couple on the left side were open. Okay, now there's a few that are open here, but most of this is all boarded up. None of this even has businesses in it. Wow. I don't know if I know I've been here in my lifetime, but I think I was little the last time I was here. So I don't remember what this was like, but this is really run down. And I don't know how long, if this is something that happened since COVID, or if this is something that has been like this for a long time. But pretty much that last, however many blocks we just went through, 4 or 5 blocks, nothing was open. There was maybe a couple businesses in that whole section that were open. Some of these houses need a paint job, but they don't look too bad. We're kind of getting over to a different section. Yeah, there's a house all boarded up. Wow, this is not... Okay, so my GoPro keeps turning itself off for some reason. So this is going to be a little choppy. I don't know how much of that it caught. But yeah, now we're going through some areas where they're a little shadier than where we were earlier, and where we were earlier wasn't all that good. But this is getting even a little shadier. I'm still kind of sticking to the main roads because I don't want to get too far into anywhere. Yeah, my GoPro's having serious problems. I hope this video turns out. It keeps turning on and off, so we haven't missed anything. Just a bunch more closed buildings and a road that hasn't been repaved in about 50 years. This road is horrible. A lot of rundown homes. A dead, I don't know if that was a bunny or what that was on the road. Okay, the GoPro keeps cutting out, so I'm hoping I get enough of this to make this video at least worth watching. But now we're getting over into, well, right now it's kind of more like businessy, or I don't know what you call these kind of businesses out here, but it looks like everything's closed down. The parking lots all have grass growing through the pavement. Okay, this thing is cut out about 5 times now. So hopefully, I don't know how much I've said that it's caught on the video and how much has been being cut out from the video quitting and not saving the files. But so far this city, I am not impressed with it at all. And anything that we've gone through, and like I said, we just started at the top And we're coming down through, we went through the downtown, and now we're headed out to get right back on the freeway. And it hasn't been anything impressive. It's dumpy. You can see, I don't know if you can see all these yards that, I mean, they're not even mowing. I mean, not that that's a bad thing. I mean, some people just don't. Okay, this GoPro's having serious problems, so hopefully this video turns out okay. But, and I really honestly don't know if I repeat myself, it's because the thing keeps cutting out and I'm not sure what all it's been catching. But this city, compared to other cities that I've done these drive-thrus, this is, aside from that one street in Minneapolis that looked really bad and everything was closed down, this is the worst overall city that I drove through. Minneapolis, even as bad as it was, this has been like it might be, I don't even think it's safer than Minneapolis. This is an icky city, this city, in my opinion. I don't find it to be nice at all. And that whole section of that one part of downtown where everything was closed for like blocks and blocks, all the buildings were boarded up, and there was like one business in that 3-block section. I mean, the only good part of that is I didn't see graffiti on all of it like I would have seen in Minneapolis. I didn't see garbage everywhere like I would have seen in Minneapolis. It wasn't clean by any means like Sioux Falls when we went through there. It wasn't clean by any means like Sioux Falls was, but it's not, this is not a place that I would ever want to live, this city. And it might just be that it's just too close to Chicago. And I say that in a lot of my videos, that the most dangerous thing about a dangerous city is your proximity to it. And being an hour away isn't far enough. I mean, even with cities like Minneapolis, which is probably 6-7 hours away from Chicago, if you were driving, Minneapolis gets a lot of people from Chicago that drive out there, commit crimes, and then go back to Chicago. So if Minneapolis, 6-7 hours away, is having problems because of Chicago, this city is likely having a lot of their problems are because of Chicago as well. Because being only an hour away, that's not far enough. From a city like Chicago, an hour is nowhere near far enough away. I don't feel unsafe here. I don't feel like that I'm at risk or anything, at least in the areas that I went through. But like I said, I'm trying to stick to the main roads as much as possible. And, but I haven't seen anything that makes the city look nice either. Even that few blocks that we drove through, I think the camera cut out for part of that though. The houses were actually pretty nice, but the neighborhood still didn't look good. You know, it still didn't look like, it just looked like the houses were a little better kept up than the stuff we had driven through before that. But this video, anyone looking to actually see like hoods, I didn't really drive through any of them. I mean, we drove through areas that didn't look good, but not really through anything that you would call a hood. Mainly because I didn't really want to risk it, and I'm not in a car that I find suitable for doing that. For going into an area like that. Like this thing, like I said before, this Mitsubishi Mirage that I got, this rental car, I mean, if you got 2-3 guys, they could probably pick this thing up and carry it away. This thing is like a little go-kart. I don't feel safe driving through anything that was bad. But I should have looked up some of the things like carjackings and some of the other violent crimes that, just to get an idea of what else. Mainly all I ever look at are the homicides. That's pretty much all I ever look at on any of this stuff. And that's why when I do some of these videos, people are like, why'd you drive through that area? That area is completely fine. And it's like, well, if they have 2-3 homicides in a year in that area, then I'm going to drive through it, whether it's, you know, a good area or a bad area. Because the homicides literally don't always happen just in good area or just in bad areas. I mean, gang activity, somebody could live in a nice area and be somehow affiliated with a gang, and the gang can come in and shoot somebody no matter where they live. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this video here because the camera keeps cutting itself out for whatever reason. I don't know why. It's got full battery, but it keeps wanting to cut out, and there's nothing really to look at on this road anymore, and I'm almost back to the freeway anyway. So this has been Rockford, Illinois. Like I said, this place is dumpy. The houses are icky. I haven't seen anything that I thought was like nice that would make me ever think this would be a good place to live. There isn't anything I like about it at all. Okay, well, the camera's not staying on for more than a minute at a time, so I'm cutting this here. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you found something good out of this city that I personally would never live in and will likely never in my lifetime ever come back to, because I find it a very disgusting city. There is nothing I found about it that I thought was attractive at all. So anybody that lives here, please comment on what I missed on this city, if there's anything good about it. Other than that, it's got a high violent crime rate, and there's nothing really good about it that I could find. Thanks for watching.